Have you ever felt your heart race and your words freeze the moment you need to speak English? If you have, then you are exactly where you need to be. Welcome, my friend. My name is Anna, and this is the Al Accent Lounge. I know that feeling of nervousness, the frustration of wanting to join a conversation but not finding the right words, and the deep desire to sound as confident and natural as you feel in your own language. That journey begins right here, right now. Together, we will learn English in a way that is straightforward, easy to follow, and designed for the real world you live in every single day. My mission is to transform your learning experience into something enjoyable and free from stress, so you can genuinely love the process and see tangible progress that fills you with pride. In this session, we are not going to be passive listeners. We are going to actively participate. You will speak, you will repeat, and you will witness your own improvement as we move forward. I will be your guide through each and every step, and I give you my word that by the time we finish, you will be speaking with greater fluency and more self-assurance than you were just a few moments ago. I urge you to stay with me until the very end. Every single component of this lesson has been meticulously crafted to systematically develop your skills and keep your motivation burning brightly. And believe me, the final segment is the most transformative of all. It is designed to help you synthesize everything you learn and apply it directly to your actual conversations. So, take a slow, deep breath, allow yourself to relax, and let us embark on this journey to fluent English, side by side. Grab a pen and some paper, and let's begin. When we consider the path from an intermediate B1 level in English to the mastery of C2, the very first thing we must address is vocabulary. Vocabulary forms the essential bedrock of true fluency. Without a diverse and precise range of words, we find ourselves unable to articulate our thoughts completely. We struggle to convey our emotions with accuracy, and we cannot engage in sophisticated discussions with natural ease. At the B1 stage, you have already mastered the fundamental building blocks. You know how to introduce yourself, discuss your daily routine, and share your viewpoints using straightforward sentences. However, to operate at the C2 pinnacle, you must learn the art of molding your words into expressions that are exact, richly detailed, and effortlessly flowing, carrying with them an air of confidence and crystal-clear understanding. For instance, at the B1 level, you might express fatigue by saying, "I am tired today because I worked a lot." This is perfectly correct, but it remains simple. At the C2 level, you would instead say, "I am utterly exhausted after such a demanding day at the office," or, "I feel completely drained from managing so many challenging tasks today." Do you see how the core message is identical, yet the advanced alternatives demonstrate variety, deeper emotion, and a more powerful command of language? This is the very first step we will practice together today, learning how to take basic sentences and elevate them into sophisticated, fluent expressions. Let us practice this together right now. I will provide you with a simple sentence, and I want you to try and articulate it in a more advanced manner. Here is our first one: "The food was good." Now, how can we transform this to sound more refined? You could say, "The food was absolutely delicious." Or, "The meal was truly delightful." You could even offer, "The flavors were exquisite, and each bite was deeply satisfying." Each of these enhanced versions shows you the practical method of moving from elementary vocabulary to a more nuanced and advanced lexicon. Please, pause here. Repeat after me, and then attempt to craft your very own advanced alternative. Now, let us try another example. Our basic sentence is, "I don't like this movie." At the C2 level, you might express this by saying, "This movie does not particularly appeal to me." Or, "I found this film rather unengaging, as the storyline failed to capture my attention." Can you hear the distinct difference? Each advanced version is clearer, more descriptive, and far closer to what proficient speakers use naturally. This specific type of practice is precisely what will propel you from B1 to C2, one deliberate step at a time. Another crucial element that separates intermediate communication from advanced mastery is the skillful use of connectors. At the B1 level, many learners understandably rely on a small set of simple linking words like and, but, and because. These are the essential tools that build initial fluency. However, to reach the C2 level, you must confidently incorporate a wider array of advanced connectors into your speech, words such as although, nevertheless, moreover, consequently, and on the other hand. These linguistic tools act as sophisticated bridges, seamlessly connecting your ideas and making your overall communication smoother, more logical, and intellectually compelling. For example, instead of expressing a simple contrast by saying, "I wanted to go out, but it was raining," you could construct a more advanced sentence like, "Although I was eager to go out, the heavy rain compelled me to stay indoors." Or, you might say, "I wanted to go out, nevertheless, the inclement weather forced me to remain inside." These connectors elevate your speech, giving it a professional and polished flow that is characteristic of a highly proficient speaker. Let's practice this transformation together right now. Repeat this simple sentence after me. "I stayed home because I was tired." Now, let's upgrade it. Try saying, "I decided to remain at home since I was feeling completely exhausted." Here is another version. "I stayed home as I was utterly worn out after a long day at work." And for a truly advanced structure, consider, "I remained at home, for fatigue had thoroughly overwhelmed me by the day's end." Do you notice how each successive version becomes richer, more detailed, and more sophisticated? This is the exact type of targeted training that will lift your English towards the C2 level. When learning at the B1 level, it is very common for students to hesitate when it comes to using new words. The fear of making a mistake can be paralyzing. But at the C2 level, confidence becomes your most valuable asset. You must dare to incorporate new vocabulary and advanced grammatical structures into your real-life conversations. Making mistakes is not a sign of failure, it is an integral and necessary part of the learning process. In fact, every error you make is like a stepping stone placed firmly on your path to fluency. For instance, if you use a complex word incorrectly, you might feel a moment of embarrassment, but that experience will cement the word's correct usage in your memory far more effectively, ensuring it becomes a natural part of your active vocabulary soon after. So, in this master class, I wholeheartedly encourage you to practice aloud, without any fear, and to embrace every single mistake as clear and undeniable evidence of your progress. Now, let's engage in a short practice exercise rooted in daily life. Imagine you had a very long day at school or at your workplace. At the B1 level, you might simply state, "My day was busy." Now, let's powerfully push that towards C2. Try saying, "My day was incredibly demanding, filled with a relentless stream of non-stop activities." Or, "Today felt completely overwhelming, with back-to-back responsibilities that left me with little time to catch my breath." Another powerful option could be, "It was a truly hectic day, packed with challenging tasks that required my constant and undivided focus." Repeat these advanced sentences after me slowly, And as you do, try to vividly picture yourself using these very phrases in a real conversation. The more you can connect these new words and structures to your own personal experiences, the faster and more profound your progress will be. Finally, we must address a component of fluency that is often overlooked: rhythm and tone. True fluency is not solely about the words you choose, it is equally about how you deliver those words. At the B1 level, many learners tend to speak in a staccato manner, pronouncing each word separately with pauses that disrupt the natural flow of a sentence. At the C2 level, you must learn to speak in meaningful chunks, linking words and phrases together smoothly. For example, instead of saying each word distinctly, like, I went to the store, try blending them into a fluid phrase, I went to the store. Then, for advanced practice, extend it naturally, I went to the store to pick up some essentials before dinner. Notice how the entire sentence flows like a continuous stream when spoken with the correct rhythm. This level of fluency is cultivated through dedicated shadowing practice, where you listen to a native speaker and repeat their sentences exactly as you hear them, meticulously copying their intonation, stress, and overall flow. We will continue to practice this essential technique throughout our lesson. One of the most unmistakable signs of your progression from B1 to C2 is your newfound ability to describe things with vivid precision. At the B1 stage, you might describe something in broad, simple terms. For example, you may say, the weather is nice. But at C2, you need to add color, texture, and specific detail. You could instead say, the weather today is pleasantly warm with a gentle breeze that makes it incredibly comfortable to walk outside. Or, the day feels wonderfully refreshing, the air is crisp, and the sunlight is perfectly balanced, not too harsh and not too weak. Notice how these advanced sentences do more than just convey information, they paint a vivid picture in the listener's mind. At the highest levels of English, your language should not only be correct in form but should also have the power to create strong images and evoke specific emotions for anyone listening. Let's try a practical description exercise together. The basic sentence is, my room is small. At an advanced level, you could transform this into, my room is compact but exceptionally cozy, with just enough space for everything I need. Or, though the room is modest in size, it feels warm and inviting due to its thoughtful and simple design. Or even, it may be a small space, but it possesses a charming atmosphere that makes me feel perfectly comfortable every time I step inside. Pause here and repeat each of these advanced versions after me. Now, challenge yourself to create your own detailed description of a small space in your own life, using this model. Another defining characteristic of C2 fluency is the confident and natural use of idiomatic expressions. At B1, learners often communicate using direct and literal language. At C2, however, idioms, collocations, and phrasal verbs become indispensable tools for sounding authentic and natural. For example, instead of stating, I am very tired, you could say, I am completely worn out. Or, I'm utterly drained. Instead of saying, it's easy, you could use the idiom, it's a piece of cake. Instead of, I don't understand, you might say, I can't make sense of it. These expressions bring your English much closer to how native speakers communicate in their daily lives. Let's practice with a few common idioms. Repeat after me slowly. After working for 8 hours straight, I was completely wiped out. Now, another one. Understanding advanced grammar at first can feel like climbing a mountain, but with consistent practice, it gradually becomes easier. And one more, I was absolutely over the moon when I passed my difficult exam with high marks. Each of these examples uses idiomatic language to replace a simple B1 expression with a more colorful and advanced alternative. I highly encourage you to start making a personal list of your favorite idioms and deliberately practice using them in your daily conversations. Moving forward on this path to mastery, we must also develop a sharp sensitivity to nuance. At the B1 level, you might find yourself relying on one or two basic words to express a common concept. But at the C2 level, you must build a rich repertoire of synonyms, each carrying its own subtle shade of meaning. For example, let's take the universal word happy. At B1, you might almost exclusively say, I am happy. At C2, you have a palette of words to choose from: joyful, delighted, thrilled, ecstatic, content, pleased. Each of these describes a form of happiness, but with different intensities and connotations. Thrilled implies a surge of excited happiness, while content suggests a quiet, peaceful satisfaction. Mastering these subtle distinctions is what will make your English not just correct, but truly rich and precise. Let's practice using synonyms together. Repeat after me: I was genuinely delighted to meet her after such a long time apart. Another one: he felt deeply content after finally finishing his complex project successfully. And one more: she was absolutely ecstatic when she heard the wonderful news. Now, I want you to try a mental exercise. Imagine different situations in your own life and consciously select a specific, more precise synonym for happy that fits the situation perfectly. Instead of automatically saying happy, push yourself to choose the word that captures the exact feeling, whether it's the quiet pleasure of a peaceful morning or the explosive joy of a major achievement. This deliberate choice is what brings you closer to advanced fluency. Another critical skill for operating at the C2 level is the ability to paraphrase effectively. In real-life situations, you will sometimes forget a specific word, or you may not even know the exact term for something. At the B1 level, this can often lead to awkward pauses, hesitation, or a complete breakdown in communication. But at the C2 level, you are equipped to handle this smoothly. You must learn to express the same idea in a different way without breaking the flow of your conversation. For example, if you momentarily forget the word restaurant, you can simply say, the place where people go to eat food. If the word generous escapes you, you could describe someone as a person who gives a lot to others and is very kind. This skill of paraphrasing is a vital survival tool for any advanced learner, ensuring you remain fluent and communicative even when your vocabulary momentarily fails you. Let's do a short, practical exercise to train this skill. Imagine you forget the word expensive. How could you explain it? You could say, it costs a great deal of money, or, the price is exceptionally high. Now, imagine you forget the word library. You might say, it's the place where people can borrow books and study. One more, imagine you forget the word shy. You could explain it by saying, someone who feels nervous or uncomfortable when speaking to new people. This practice actively trains your brain to think on its feet and keep speaking without stopping, which is one of the strongest and most convincing signs of true fluency. Finally, let's touch upon the concept of register, the ability to consciously adjust your language to suit different situations and audiences. At the B1 level, you may often use the same words and phrases in both formal and informal settings. But at the C2 level, you must demonstrate that you know how to change your tone, vocabulary, and level of formality appropriately. For example, when greeting a close friend, you might casually say, "Hey, what's up?" But in a job interview, you would formally say, "Good morning, it's a pleasure to meet you." Both expressions serve as greetings, but they are designed for entirely different contexts. At C2, you should be able to move smoothly and instinctively between formal, neutral, and informal registers depending on where you are and who you are speaking with. Let's practice this flexibility. Imagine you're casually inviting a friend to dinner. You might say informally, "Want to grab dinner tonight?" Now, imagine you are writing a professional email to a senior colleague. You would write, "Would you like to join me for dinner this evening?" The core message is identical, but the register is completely different. I encourage you to practice this by taking one simple sentence and consciously saying it in an informal, a neutral, and a formal style. This linguistic flexibility is a key marker of what makes you sound truly advanced and socially intelligent in English. One of the most profound qualities that distinguishes a B1 speaker from a C2 speaker is a sophisticated flexibility with grammar. At the intermediate level, learners typically rely on the core tenses, present simple, past simple, and future simple. These are the sturdy foundations, and they serve you well. However, to achieve C2 mastery, you need to comfortably and accurately employ a wide spectrum of tenses and complex grammatical structures. This allows you to express time, mood, and aspect with much greater precision. For example, instead of stating the basic fact, "I lived here for 5 years," which is grammatically correct but limited, you could say, "I have been living here for the past 5 years, and during this time, I've learned an immense amount about the local culture." This advanced version not only demonstrates your command of the present perfect continuous tense but also adds depth, context, and a sense of ongoing experience to your idea. Let's practice transforming a sentence with more advanced grammar. Take this basic version, "I studied English last year." Now, let's explore some advanced alternatives. You could say, "I was studying English throughout last year, with a particular focus on improving my pronunciation and fluency." Or, "I had been studying English for several months before I made the decision to enroll in an advanced course." Or even, "I have been studying English continuously since last year, and it has genuinely transformed my ability to communicate." Each of these versions uses a different tense and grammatical structure, yet all of them showcase a higher level of control and nuance that is characteristic of an advanced speaker. Another significant leap towards C2 fluency is the confident mastery of conditionals, particularly the more advanced forms. At the B1 level, learners often feel comfortable with the first and second conditionals, such as, "If it rains, I will stay home." At C2, you must also be able to use the third conditional and mixed conditionals with ease. These structures allow you to discuss unreal situations, past regrets, and hypothetical scenarios with remarkable fluency. For example, you could express a past regret by saying, "If I had studied harder last year, I would have passed the exam with flying colors." Or, using a mixed conditional, you might say, "If I were more confident in myself, I would be speaking in front of large audiences without any hesitation." These sentences enable you to navigate complex thoughts about the past and its connection to the present. Let's try some practice examples together. Repeat after me. "If I had woken up just 15 minutes earlier, I wouldn't have missed the important bus." Another one, "If I were living in London right now, I would be practicing my English with native speakers every single day." And one more, which requires thinking across different time frames. "If I had taken that incredible opportunity when it was offered, my life would look completely different today." These sentences may feel challenging at first, as they require your brain to juggle different temporal relationships. But once you master them, they will grant you incredible flexibility and power in expressing sophisticated ideas at the highest level of English. Beyond grammar, you also need to consciously build an advanced vocabulary for expressing emotions and abstract ideas. At B1, you might convey a feeling by simply saying, "I am sad." At C2, you can articulate the same feeling with far greater precision and depth. You could say, "I feel profoundly disheartened by the unexpected outcome," or, "Her critical words left me feeling deeply discouraged and uncertain." Similarly, instead of the basic, "I am angry," you could express, "I am utterly outraged by this blatantly unfair situation," or, "His consistently rude behavior left me feeling completely frustrated." Notice how these advanced words carry a stronger emotional weight and a more exact meaning. This is the type of nuanced vocabulary that will make your English not only correct, but also powerfully expressive and memorable. Let's now turn our attention to the powerful tools that give advanced speech its structure and polish: advanced discourse markers. These are phrases and words that act as signposts, guiding your listeners smoothly through your thoughts and creating logical connections between your ideas. At the B1 level, you may primarily use basic sequence words like first, then, and finally. At C2, you should have a full command of expressions such as, "on the contrary," "as a matter of fact," in other words, to put it simply, "having said that," "in contrast," "by and large," and "all things considered." These markers transform your speech from a simple list of points into a coherent, structured, and professional-sounding narrative. Let's practice integrating these into simple statements. Instead of saying, "I like coffee," "I don't like tea," you could articulate a more connected thought, "I thoroughly enjoy coffee. On the contrary, tea has never particularly appealed to my palate." Another example, "She is usually a very quiet person. As a matter of fact, she often prefers to listen more than she speaks." And one more, "The movie was admittedly long and slow in its pacing. Having said that, the acting performances were truly outstanding." Repeat these sentences with me, and pay close attention to how these discourse markers give your English a refined, logical, and advanced feel. Now, let's take a crucial step into real-life application by building persuasive arguments. At the B1 level, you might state your opinion directly, "I think this idea is good." At the C2 level, you learn to frame your opinion with supporting reasoning, which shows not just what you think, but why you think it. This demonstrates critical thinking and confidence. For instance, you could say, "In my considered opinion, this proposal holds significant potential for success, provided we implement it with careful attention to detail." Or, "From my perspective, this suggestion could be highly beneficial, though we must also consider the practical challenges involved." Let's practice constructing these advanced opinions together. Repeat after me. "From my point of view, this new approach is far more efficient than the methodology we employed previously." Another one, "As far as I am concerned, developing strong communication skills is absolutely essential for long-term career growth." And one more, "In my view, consistent and deliberate practice is the only guaranteed path to mastering advanced English." I want you to try saying these sentences out loud with conviction, truly imagining yourself in a real conversation where your opinion carries weight. This is how you begin to integrate advanced fluency directly into your daily professional and social interactions. Another area where advanced learners truly excel is in the use of sophisticated cause and effect expressions. At B1, you might connect events with a simple so, as in, I didn't sleep well, so I'm tired. At C2, you can express the same causality with more formal and precise language. You could say, due to a rather restless night, I am feeling completely exhausted today. Or, as a direct result of staying up far too late, I found it difficult to concentrate during my morning class. Or, owing to the unexpectedly heavy traffic, I arrived at the meeting later than I had anticipated. These advanced structures make your English smoother and more academic, which is ideal for both professional and formal casual contexts. Here is a short exercise to solidify these cause and effect structures. Repeat after me. As a consequence of inadequate planning from the outset, the entire project faced serious and costly delays. Another one, owing to his remarkable dedication and hard work, he achieved truly remarkable success in a very short time. And one more, because of the sudden and torrential downpour, the outdoor event had to be postponed at the last minute. Practicing these structures will help them spring to mind naturally when you need to explain why something happened, a key function of advanced communication. To reach the pinnacle of C2 fluency, you must become a masterful storyteller in English. At the B1 level, many learners narrate events using short, simple sentences, often repeating the same subject-verb structure. For example, yesterday I went to the park. I met my friend. We talked. Then we went home. While this is perfectly correct, it is not particularly engaging or vivid. At the C2 level, you must learn to weave a tapestry with your words, using richer vocabulary, evocative time expressions, and descriptive details to make your story flow and captivate your listener. Imagine transforming that basic narrative into, yesterday afternoon, I happened to meet an old friend by chance at the local park. We ended up having a long and deeply engaging conversation about our lives and aspirations. By the time we finally finished talking, the sun was already setting, painting the evening sky with breathtaking shades of orange and purple. This version sounds alive, creates atmosphere, and draws the listener directly into your experience. Let's practice this transformation together. Start with this simple version. I cooked dinner last night. Now, let's upgrade it step by step. First, add some detail. Last night, I prepared a homemade dinner using fresh ingredients from the market. Then, inject more sensory description. Last night, I prepared a warm, comforting homemade dinner, and the incredible aroma of garlic and herbs filled the entire kitchen as I cooked. For a truly advanced touch, add a personal reflection. Yesterday evening, I decided to cook an elaborate dinner from scratch, and the very process of chopping fresh vegetables and stirring the simmering pot felt surprisingly therapeutic and relaxing after an intensely long day. Do you hear how each version adds successive layers of life, color, and rhythm? This is the advanced storytelling skill you need to cultivate. Another key element at the C2 level is the ability to express subtle, layered opinions and complex emotions. At B1, you may offer a straightforward evaluation, I like this book. At C2, you can add depth and nuance. You could say, I truly enjoyed this book because the author possessed a unique ability to capture human emotions in a strikingly realistic and relatable way. Or, I found this novel profoundly moving. The characters were crafted with such depth and authenticity that I almost forgot they were merely fictional creations. Advanced English gives you the power to articulate not only what you feel, but why you feel it, and to do so with sophistication and insight. Here's a reflective exercise to practice this. Repeat after me. I appreciated the film not only for its compelling storyline, but also for the powerful way it prompted me to reflect on my own life choices. Another one, I enjoyed the concert mainly due to the musicians' incredible emotional depth and the hauntingly beautiful way the melodies connected with my own memories. And one more, I admired the speaker's presentation since it masterfully combined clarity of message with a persuasive power that stayed with me long afterward. These kinds of sentences move far beyond simple likes and dislikes. They provide reasons, nuanced explanations, and emotional context, all clear signs of advanced, reflective fluency. Furthermore, a crucial skill for advanced communication is the ability to hedge your opinions politely and diplomatically. At B1, learners can sometimes sound overly direct, which might unintentionally seem blunt, such as stating, "You are wrong." But at the C2 level, you learn to soften your language, showing respect for other viewpoints even when you disagree. This is essential in academic, professional, and sensitive social contexts. For example, instead of a direct contradiction, you could say, "I see your point clearly, but I'm not entirely convinced by that line of reasoning." Or, "That is certainly an interesting perspective. However, I tend to look at the situation a little differently." Or, "I understand exactly where you're coming from, though I'm not sure I can completely agree with that conclusion." Let's practice crafting these polite disagreements. Repeat after me, "I respect your opinion on the matter, but I would like to gently offer a different point of view for us to consider." Another one, "You raise a very valid concern that we must address. However, I believe there might be an alternative solution worth exploring." And one more, "That's certainly a good starting idea. Although, I wonder if we should also take a moment to consider some other potential possibilities." Notice how these sentences maintain a positive, collaborative tone while still allowing you to express your own distinct viewpoint. This ability to disagree without causing offense is one of the hallmarks of truly advanced and emotionally intelligent communication. Now, let's turn our attention to the very fabric of natural, everyday English, phrasal verbs and collocations. At the B1 level, you are likely familiar with some essential phrasal verbs like wake up, sit down, or I turn off. These are the foundations. But at the C2 level, you must confidently use phrasal verbs that carry more complex and specific meanings, as native speakers use them constantly. For example, bring up a means to introduce a topic for discussion, come across means to find or encounter something unexpectedly, run out of a means to deplete your supply of something, and to carry on with a means to continue doing something. Mastering these is not optional for advanced fluency, it is essential for sounding authentic and natural. Let's practice with these in context. Repeat after me. During the crucial meeting, she skillfully brought up an important issue that we had all unfortunately overlooked. Another one, I recently came across a fascinating article about linguistics while casually browsing online. And one more, we unexpectedly ran out of milk this morning, so I had to make a quick trip to the grocery store. I encourage you to try using these phrasal verbs in your own daily life. Start with one or two, and when they feel comfortable, challenge yourself to learn a new one each week. This consistent practice will make them an automatic part of your vocabulary. Inseparable from phrasal verbs is the concept of collocations, words that naturally and frequently go together in English. Learning these combinations is what makes your speech sound smooth and instinctive. For instance, in English, we always make a decision, we never do a decision. We describe coffee as a strong, not powerful. Correct collocations are a secret key to advanced fluency. Other common examples include take responsibility, deeply concerned, fast asleep, heavy rain, and a crystal clear. Using these combinations correctly will instantly make your English sound more advanced and natural. Let's solidify a few of these collocations through practice. Repeat after me. He made a swift decision after carefully hearing all the relevant facts. Another one. I was deeply concerned about her health after noticing she seemed so tired. And one more. The teacher's explanation was crystal clear, and as a result, every student in the class understood the concept immediately. Notice how natural and effortless these combinations feel when you say them. This is the muscle memory of language. I urge you to practice using just 1 or 2 new collocations and sentences every day. Soon, they will roll off your tongue without a second thought. At the C2 level, you should also possess the ability to shift effortlessly between discussing concrete and abstract ideas. At B1, learners often stick to concrete, tangible topics. I like dogs, or I want a new phone. At C2, you need to be equally comfortable handling abstract concepts such as a freedom, success, identity, or a responsibility. This allows for much deeper and more meaningful conversations. For example, instead of only saying, I like learning English, you could express, for me, learning English represents a pathway to personal freedom, genuine global connection, and continuous intellectual growth. Notice how the second version connects a simple action to a much larger, universal idea. This is what advanced speakers do instinctively. They link their personal experiences to broader themes. Let's practice moving from the concrete to the abstract. Start with this simple sentence, I need money. At a higher level, you might reframe this as, financial independence is fundamentally essential to living a life of dignity and making truly free choices. Another example, I want friends. At C2, you could articulate, authentic human connection plays a crucial role in our overall emotional well-being, and I deeply value building relationships that bring profound meaning to my life. By practicing this kind of conceptual thinking in English, you train your mind to see beyond the immediate surface and connect your language to deeper, more powerful ideas. Another powerful tool in the advanced speaker's arsenal is the deliberate use of metaphor and imagery. Native speakers often use metaphors to make their language more vivid, relatable, and powerful. At the C2 level, mastering these will make your English sound not only natural but also artistic and memorable. For example, instead of stating the literal fact, he is very busy, you might paint a picture by saying, he has a tremendous amount on his plate at the moment. Instead of she is nervous, you could convey the feeling more vividly with, she has butterflies in her stomach before every big presentation. These phrases inject life and personality into your communication. Let's try crafting some metaphorical sentences together. Repeat after me, learning a new language is like planting a delicate tree. It requires consistent care, patience, and time, but eventually, it grows deep roots and strong branches. Another one, her genuine smile was like a ray of sunshine, instantly warming the hearts of everyone around her. And one more, life is an unpredictable journey, and every challenge we face is simply another step along the winding path, teaching us valuable lessons. As you practice these, I encourage you to get creative. Try inventing your own metaphors about your daily routines, your goals, or your feelings. This creative habit will make your English deeply personal and strikingly advanced. Closely linked to this is the masterful use of emphasis and subtlety. Sometimes you need to highlight a point strongly, and other times you need to soften your statement. At B1, you might rely heavily on very for emphasis, as in, this is very important. At C2, you have a rich palette of alternatives to choose from. For strong emphasis, you can use words like extremely, absolutely, utterly, incredibly, remarkably, or tremendously. For subtlety and softness, you can use a slightly, somewhat, relatively, fairly, or a bit. This range allows you to express the exact intensity of your opinion or feeling. Let's practice controlling this intensity together. Repeat after me for strong emphasis. This is absolutely essential knowledge if you want to achieve true fluency. Another one, I was utterly shocked by the surprising turn of events. Now, let's practice subtlety. The final episode was somewhat disappointing, though the series as a whole was still enjoyable. Another one, I felt slightly nervous before the important interview, but that feeling quickly passed once I started speaking. Being able to shift seamlessly between strong and soft emphasis gives you complete control over your message's impact, which is a cornerstone of advanced communication. Another sophisticated technique is the use of rhetorical questions. These are questions you ask not to get an answer, but to make a point, engage your listener, and add a persuasive rhythm to your speech. At the B1 level, learners typically make direct statements. This is difficult. At C2, you can draw your listener in by asking, "Isn't it fascinating how rapidly technology continues to reshape our daily lives?" Or, "Don't we all wish we had just a few more hours in the day to pursue our passions?" Rhetorical questions create a sense of shared experience and make you sound more reflective and confident. Let's practice formulating a few rhetorical questions. Repeat after me. Isn't it remarkable how small, consistent changes in your daily routine can completely transform your productivity and outlook? Another one. Don't you agree that learning English truly opens the door to a world of countless new opportunities and connections? And one more. Who wouldn't want to feel completely natural and self-assured when expressing themselves in another language? Practicing these will help you learn to speak not just with correctness, but with an emotional and intellectual connection that resonates deeply with others. At the advanced level, another powerful skill is the ability to use emphasis through your very sentence structure, not just with individual vocabulary words. At B1, learners usually follow a straightforward subject-verb-object order. For example, I like this idea. At C2, however, you can artfully rearrange sentences for stylistic impact and to highlight different elements. This shows a command of the language that goes beyond mere correctness. For example, you could say, "What I really like about this idea is its elegant simplicity." Or, "This idea, I must admit, appeals to me more than any other." Or, "It is the sheer creativity of this idea that makes it stand out so remarkably." These variations demonstrate your control over word order and allow you to guide the listener's attention exactly where you want it. Let's practice this structuring for emphasis. Repeat after me. What inspires me the most on this journey is the visible effort you dedicate to your practice every single day. Another one, it was the unexpected kindness in her voice that ultimately comforted me during that difficult time. And one more, what makes this city truly unforgettable for me is the incredible warmth and generosity of its people. By practicing these structures, you learn to emphasize the most important part of your message, giving your speech variety, strength, and a distinct personal voice. Another key skill that signifies advanced mastery is the effortless use of reported speech. At B1, learners often rely on direct quotes, which can sound a bit simplistic in many contexts. "She said, I am tired." At C2, you need to use reported speech naturally and accurately, especially in conversations, professional summaries, or academic writing. This allows you to share information smoothly and shows maturity in your language use. For example, you would report, "She mentioned that she was completely exhausted after the long and demanding journey." Or, "He explained that he had been working diligently on the complex project for several months." Let's practice transforming direct speech into reported speech together. Direct quote, "He said, I like this new plan." Reported version, "He said that he liked the new plan." Another one, direct, "She said, I will help you tomorrow." Reported, "She promised that she would help me the following day." And one more, direct, "They said, we are leaving now." Reported, "They told me they were leaving at that very moment." Repeat these transformed sentences slowly until the structure begins to feel natural and automatic. The more you integrate reported speech into your retellings of conversations, the more professional and polished your English will sound. Now, let's focus on building compelling arguments and using persuasive language structures. At the B1 level, many learners simply state their opinion, "I think learning English is important." At the C2 level, you must learn to back your opinion with logical reasons, evidence, and a persuasive structure that shows you can think critically. For instance, you could state, "I strongly believe that learning English is essential in the modern world, as it unlocks countless doors to higher education, global career opportunities, and meaningful cultural exchange." Or, "In my view, English fluency transcends basic communication. It's about connecting with the global community on a significantly deeper and more personal level." Practice building these structured opinions with me. Repeat, "In my considered opinion, practicing English for short periods daily is far more effective than cramming for hours only once a week." Another one, "I am firmly convinced that technology has made acquiring new languages more accessible and engaging than at any other point in history." And one more, "There can be no doubt that consistent and focused practice is the single most important key to mastering the nuances of English." Make a habit of using this type of structured language in your debates, discussions, or even in your private journaling. The more you practice formulating your thoughts in this way, the more fluent, confident, and persuasive you will become in all your interactions. An essential hallmark of C2 fluency that we have not yet fully explored is the mastery of subtle differences in meaning between similar words. At the B1 level, it is common to rely on a limited set of familiar vocabulary, frequently repeating words like good, bad, nice, big, and small. At C2, however, you must develop a sensitive ear for context, allowing you to select the exact word that conveys not just the general idea, but the precise shade of meaning you intend. For example, instead of always using the word bad, you have a spectrum of choices: terrible, awful, dreadful, appalling, unpleasant, disappointing, unacceptable. Each of these carries a different nuance. Awful often describes something emotionally negative, while the unacceptable is better suited for formal or professional criticism. This sensitivity is what makes your English truly advanced. Let's put this concept into practice. The simple sentence is, "The service was bad." At AC2 level, you could express this with much greater precision. You might say, "The service was truly dreadful, and it ultimately ruined what was supposed to be a special celebration." Or, for a more formal complaint, "The service was completely unacceptable for a restaurant boasting such high ratings and prices." Or, conveying a sense of letdown, "The service was deeply disappointing, especially considering the excellent reviews we had read beforehand." Repeat these advanced versions after me, and then I challenge you to create your own upgraded sentence for a different scenario, perhaps describing a bad movie or a bad a day. This experimentation is how you develop an instinct for selecting the perfect word. Now, let's build upon this by expanding our use of advanced adjectives and adverbs. At B1, you might offer a simple description: she runs fast. At C2, you can paint a much more vivid picture by enhancing that description. You could say, she runs incredibly fast, demonstrating remarkable strength and impressive stamina throughout the race. Or, she runs astonishingly quickly, often leaving her competitors far behind within the first few minutes. Notice how the addition of stronger adverbs like incredibly and astonishingly, coupled with richer adjectives, transforms a basic statement into an engaging one. Instead of "the room was big," you could describe it as, "the room was exceptionally spacious and elegantly designed, creating a sense of openness," or, "the room was impressively large, with high, vaulted ceilings that gave the entire space an airy and grand feel." Practice enriching your descriptions with me. Repeat, "The guest speaker's presentation was remarkably inspiring, leaving the entire audience motivated." Another one, "He worked tirelessly throughout the night to ensure the project was finished by the deadline." And one more, "The ancient city was breathtakingly beautiful at sunset, with the golden light reflecting off the historic stones." Make it a personal goal to incorporate at least one advanced adjective or adverb into your descriptions each day. This conscious habit will steadily and surely raise your English to the C2 level. Another area where advanced learners demonstrate their skill is the effective use of the passive voice. At B1, the active voice is dominant and correct: "The company hired him." At C2, you must also know when to use the passive voice appropriately, which is when the action or the result is more important than who performed it. For example, "He was hired by the company," shifts the focus to him being hired. The passive voice is exceptionally useful in academic, scientific, and formal reports. For instance, "The important meeting was postponed due to unforeseen circumstances." Or, "The celebrated novel has been translated into over 20 languages." Advanced speakers use both active and passive forms naturally, choosing the one that best suits their communicative purpose. Let's practice forming passive sentences. Repeat after me: "The final decision was made only after hours of careful consideration and debate." Another one, "The complex technical problem was eventually solved through brilliant teamwork and immense patience." And one more, "This magnificent bridge was built more than a century ago, yet it remains structurally sound." I want you to practice taking active sentences from your daily life and transforming them into passive ones. This flexibility to choose your voice is a key component of advanced grammatical command. A defining feature of C2 fluency is the effortless use of advanced relative clauses to create complex, detailed sentences. At the B1 level, a learner might express two simple ideas separately: "I have a friend." "She lives in London." This is clear but inefficient. At the C2 level, you seamlessly combine these ideas into a single, sophisticated statement: "I have a friend who lives in London," or even, "I have a friend who has been living in London for several years, working as an art teacher." These structures allow you to pack information into your sentences smoothly, avoiding repetition and sounding more articulate. Relative clauses are the building blocks of advanced expression. Consider these examples: "This is the book that inspired me to pursue a career in literature." Or, "The man, whose car was stolen last night, reported the incident to the police immediately." These clauses add essential description and context, making your communication rich and efficient. Let's practice constructing these together. Repeat after me. I deeply admire people who are always willing to extend a hand and help others without expecting anything in return. Another one, this is the quaint little cafe where we first met all those years ago. And one more, she spoke to the teacher who had originally encouraged her to continue studying advanced grammar. By mastering relative clauses, you express interconnected ideas within a single, flowing sentence, a major sign of your advanced capabilities. Now, let's integrate this with advanced connectors that add a layer of sophistication and formality to your speech. At B1, you may use because or so. At C2, you should be comfortable with phrases like owing to, in light of, with regard to, in spite of, notwithstanding, and provided that. These connectors sound polished and are indispensable in formal writing and speaking. For example, owing to a sudden scheduling conflict, the meeting has been rescheduled for next Tuesday. Or, with regard to your earlier question, I believe we should examine the most recent data first. Let's practice these formal connectors in context. Repeat after me. In spite of the significant financial difficulties they faced, they managed to build a successful business through sheer determination. Another one, provided that every team member contributes their fair share of the work, I am confident this ambitious project will be a resounding success. And one more, notwithstanding his initial lack of experience in the field, he handled the complex crisis with remarkable skill and composure. Using these advanced connectors will significantly strengthen the structure and professionalism of your speaking and writing at the highest level. Finally, let's bring all of this together in a comprehensive fluency exercise. Imagine you are describing your weekend. At a B1 level, your account might sound like a list. I went shopping. I bought clothes. I met my friend. This is correct, but lacks narrative flow. At the C2 level, you transform this list into a compelling mini-story. Over the weekend, I went shopping and treated myself to some new clothes for the upcoming season. Later, I met a close friend, and we had an engaging conversation over coffee, discussing our future plans and personal aspirations. Notice how the advanced version flows smoothly, incorporating connectors, richer vocabulary, and a more descriptive tone. This is the ultimate goal, to make your English not just accurate, but also engaging and expressive. Practice this exercise regularly with your own daily activities. Take a basic account of your day and challenge yourself to expand it, layer by layer, using advanced vocabulary, complex sentences with relative clauses, and sophisticated connectors. This consistent practice is what will bridge the gap between competent communication and truly masterful, C2 level fluency. Each time you do this, you are not just practicing English, you are training your brain to think, structure, and express itself with the clarity and depth of a proficient speaker. And so, we arrive at the final, and perhaps most rewarding, part of our journey together. Reaching C2 fluency is not merely an academic achievement, it is a profound transformation in how you connect with the world. It is about developing the ability to summarize complex information with clarity, to paraphrase seamlessly when the perfect word escapes you, and to adapt your language with grace for any audience, from a close friend to a boardroom of executives. It is about wielding the subtle tools of nuance, hedging your opinions with diplomacy, and employing the rhythmic power of rhetorical questions and parallelism to make your speech not only understood, but remembered and felt. This path demands patience, dedication, and daily courage. It requires you to embrace mistakes as stepping stones and to find joy in the gradual accumulation of knowledge. Remember, every new word you learn, every complex sentence you successfully construct, every idiom you confidently use in conversation, each is a victory. You are not just learning English, you are building a bridge to new opportunities, to deeper cultural understanding, and to a more confident, global version of yourself. Fluency is not about perfection, it is about effective, authentic, and powerful communication. Thank you for allowing me to guide you through this master class. If you found this journey valuable, if you feel a step closer to your goals, please support this channel. Subscribe to become part of our learning community, and hit the like button to let me know this content helps you. Most importantly, share your progress and your thoughts in the comments below. Tell me what you learned today, or what you want us to explore together next. Your likes, your subscriptions, and your comments are the fuel that keeps this channel alive, allowing me to create more free, high-quality lessons for learners like you across the globe. Remember, you are not learning alone. We are a community, growing and supporting each other. So, join the conversation below, inspire someone else with your story, and take pride in how far you have already come. Thank you again for your time, for your commitment, and for trusting me to be a part of your English journey. I am incredibly proud of you. I cannot wait to see you in the next lesson. Until then, keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and keep moving forward, one word at a time.